we have Silver Sluggers have been announced. Okay, so last week I went through and talked to, or last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever, I went through and talked about who the nominees were, who the guys were who were up for these awards, but they've been announced. So Jason, I'll go ahead and go through and read this off, and then afterwards we can talk about it. See if there's anybody who you felt like wasn't necessarily deserving, or somebody who may have been left out. All right, here we go. We have American League at catcher, Salvador Perez. First base, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So I have to pause real quick. Every time, so I listen to Dan Patrick like every morning while I'm working, and they have this running joke that one of the guys was talking about Robert Griffin III, RG3.
Yeah.
But he mistakenly called him Robert Griffith Jr. the Third. So because of the cadence of his name, every time I read Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I want to say Vladimir Guerrero Jr. the Third. Had to get that out there. So when it happens, there is a reasonable explanation for what just happened.
It's good to get ahead of those things.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here, Jason. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, second base, we have Marcus Semien. Third base, Rafael Devers, Briggs' favorite player. Shortstop, we have Xander Bogaerts. Outfield, we had Teoscar Hernandez, Aaron Judge, and Cedric Mullins. Designated hitter, of course, as we would all expect, Shohei Ohtani won that one. Over to the National League. Jason, your favorite player, catcher Buster Posey, won this one. First base, we had Freddie Freeman. Second base, Ozzie Albies. Third base, Austin Riley. Shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr. the third. Outfield, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper, and Juan Soto. Pitcher, we had Max Fried was the winner there for the Silver Sluggers. Was there anybody there in particular for you, Jason, who you thought maybe shouldn't be with that group? Let's start there.
I mean, looking at the group, I actually think everyone's deserving. There's no brainers. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is a no brainer. Marcus Semien, no brainer. Freddie Freeman, no brainer. Like, if you pay attention, these guys all make sense for winning the Silver Slugger this year.
Yep, they do. The only one that I had a question with was Xander Bogaerts. Sometimes I feel like those guys in those big markets like Boston and New York get a little bit more love than maybe they deserve. Don't get me wrong, Xander Bogaerts had a fantastic season. He is a great player. But I felt like Carlos Correa, I said it last week, he had the kind of year you would expect a guy to have going like in a contract year, right? He was auditioning for every single opponent he saw, and he played out of his mind the whole year. He's absolutely outstanding.
But how much of that is just that current stink of the Astros?
Well, I feel like he was above and beyond it though. Like this was a different Carlos Correa that we saw. Like he was on like not just like the free agent to be tour. He was on a big time FU tour as well. Like that was a big part of it too, is because Alex Bregman was hurt for a lot of the year. Jose Altuve had I think he was a little bit below average for himself compared to how he has been. But Correa, like, he was unreal. Absolutely unreal. So real quick, I have some stats to compare here. Just what they give me for Bogaerts. He had 23 home runs and 79 RBIs. Correa had 26 home runs and 92 RBIs. Bogaerts had an OPS of 863. And Correa was 850. So a little bit lower there, but higher in the other areas. And if that's what they're going to show and that's what they're going to compare, I mean, I am like a staunch Astro hater before the whole sign stealing thing, but I've gotten to kind of like Carlos Correa. I kind of like the ego and the attitude. It's kind of fun.
Baseball's a game. It's supposed to be fun. So
exactly, yeah. But no, like I'm surprised that I'm sitting here defending Carlos Correa, but at the same time, like I feel like he was more deserving than Bogaerts.
I think you're making a good case for why he does deserve it. Clearly, those involved felt the other way.
Yeah, I guess so. And it might have been the whole anti-Astro thing because I don't see any Astros on here anywhere.
And what's interesting is this now puts him in an interesting category because this puts him closer to Jeter, A-Rod, and Cal Ripken Jr., who've won more Silver Sluggers at shortstop than him, but he's like the next in line.
Bogarts?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a rare spot for him, especially. I mean, that's one thing that is crazy about the shortstop position right now is that at the All-Star break, a lot of Mariners fans were really upset that JP Crawford didn't make the team. And I was like, JP Crawford's a really good shortstop, but shortstop is so deep in the American League right now. That's a tough position to make it in if you want to be an all-star or first teamer, because I mean, it's like, I think the comparison that I made was like guards in the NBA in the Western Conference for a long time. It's like, golly, why did my guy not make the All-Star game? It's like, well, because you've got Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Steve Nash, like it was so deep. It's like, where does he fit? Where does he fit on that? Because those are all Hall of Famers ahead of him.
Crawford's a guy I saw in person playing in the minors when he was in the Phil system.
I have not forgotten about that. And I thank the Phillies every day during the regular season when I see JP Crawford take the field because he's outstanding.
I think in his case, he's one of those guys who did better with a change of scenery.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen his numbers in Philly and here. And like Jerry DiPoto specifically said, he's gotten a little bit better every year offensively, but where he makes his money is defensively because he was a runner-up with the Gold Gloves this year. He won it last year. Like that's where he's going to make his money for his career. Because he's awesome. He's so good defensively.
I mean, comparatively, as far as moves the Phils have made where the player's done better, I would compare him to Michael Bourne, who was a Phils player who they shipped out to Houston. In the Brad Lidge deal, actually.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And he's far from a household name, but he was a heck of a player for the Astros when he was playing.
Mm-hmm.